Hello and welcome back to Discussing Who. Thank you for taking time out of your schedule to listen to the show. And as you know, we are continuing our weekly reviews of Doctor Who Series 10. Tonight's episode, or this morning, or this afternoon, or whenever in space and time you might be listening, we are reviewing Episode 7, The Pyramid at the End of the World. But before we can do that, I think introductions are in order. So that I don't forget myself, I'm Kyle Jones, and Lee always tells me I forget myself, so I'm not going to forget me. I'm Kyle Jones, and joining me from the Techpedition Season 2 podcast is the impossible co-host himself, Clarence Brown. What's been going on with you, Clarence?
Nothing much. I've just been sitting on the side of the road in my car, waiting for the podcast to begin. As one does when you're a multi-millionaire, that you probably should have a chauffeur. I mean, what's going on with that anyway? But I'm doing good.
I am totally lost. I lost that one.
It's a Tiger Woods reference.
Oh, I see. Yeah. Got you. Oh, okay. Well, I think I may have taken too many meds or something, and
so did he. Ironically.
See, there you go. And good one. And by the way, I think that impossible co-host name has kind of just like stuck. If you hadn't noticed it. All right, cool. It's kind of stuck. All right, and also back from both Doctor Who Podshock and the Relativity Podcast, Lee Shackleford. Lee, what's been going on with you?
Well, obviously running around in my workshop for one thing, and getting too far away from my mic to come back in time to say hi.
Got you.
I'm working on scripts for the next round of Relativity episodes, so it seems like it goes on forever, but I'm not satisfied. I keep going back and changing things. So,
well, here's what I think. I think you've had company this week, and you've had some of Groot's relatives coming to visit. So you want to share everybody what I mean by that?
Well, I had a big tree fall in my yard, but yeah.
Yeah, and I couldn't resist the Groot reference.
Or to put it another way, I am Groot.
You are Groot. Well, as part of our introduction segment, I think it would be a good thing to acknowledge that as of this particular episode, we've reached a milestone. This is episode 50 of Discussing Who. Woohoo!
The half-century mark.
Wow.
So, guys, how does it feel to reach the 50 mark? Now, I don't want to shortchange us here, the 50 mark.
The 50 mark was many years ago for me, actually, I may say. Yeah.
So how does it look a day over 25?
There you go.
It is. Kyle, since this is your baby, you're very much to be congratulated.
Well, it's not just my baby. I couldn't do this at all without the two of you. I mean, seriously.
True. But yeah.
I like hearing myself talk, but I don't like hearing myself talk alone. So
that's well said.
Could not do it. Do it. Not a one-man show here. So I think we all deserve a pat on the back and say, you know what, 50? So what are we going to do for 51?
Exactly.
Yeah, plan in the future. So I want to go back real quick to something you said. You said you're writing scripts and you're not just quite happy with it yet.
Yeah.
Got you. Well, isn't that part of the writing process is to just get it until it just feels right?
It is. And I, over the years, man and boy, I have also learned that there is a time to let it go. And, so it's hard to know sometimes because I will keep editing things forever. And that's true of the podcast. It's true of my class notes. Every time I teach, I've been teaching, for 25 years now, and so a lot of it's been the same class, and I teach it differently every single semester because I keep thinking of something else I could do better. So it never ends.
Cool.
Well, that's the thing with a creator. You just can't ever get your hands completely off of it. And we hear with directors or, writers all the time, They always want to go back and change it or update it after the fact. As witness with Game of Thrones and George R.R. Martin and how he's had a hand in the version of Game of Thrones that we have on the TV screen, which, is funny that he's still writing the last book and he's also contributing to the show as well. So writers or creators thoughts or how they envision the show keeps evolving.
Yeah, they tell me in the film business that that one of the things that people are always saying is that films aren't released; they escape.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah, because everybody involved with the film is like, I know it's our release date, but we're not done. Oh, it's gone. And,
the same thing with like game creators and software these days. We have the advantage now of the internet to where we can just update it later, So even with video game creators and things like that, there's always a ship date that you have to meet that you gotta kind of just say, this is what we're going with.
Yeah, because I think it's just it's human nature, especially when you put in something that's you're invested in, that's a part of you, and then you just kind of like a child, interestingly that you called it, your baby or whatever, is at some point you just have to say, okay, here, go.
Yeah.
And
Han shot first.
Yep. Well, coincidentally, that we were talking about, letting things go and deciding how to improve upon. We were noticing as a group that coincidentally, again, that our branding, for lack of a better word, was wearing a bit thin. But over the weekend, for any of you who have listened, gone to our website, gone to our Facebook page, hint, 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 take a look. We have, over the weekend, all of those things have been renewed. And as it says on our website, we have regenerated. So why did we change? Well, coming from me, or coming from the way I've been feeling, I think we wanted to acknowledge Doctor Who, but also appeal to a broader audience. And if you, again, want to read more about why we made the change, visit the website. I wrote an article entitled We've Regenerated that kind of breaks that down here. But Clarence, you and I both noticed something in regards to our branding while we were attending Southern Geek Fest a few weeks back. Would you mind elaborating, if you recall, on what it was that we noticed and what we saw and what spurred that conversation?
Yeah, just real quick. One of the things we noticed while at the Southern Geek Fest with the rest of the Grits crew, Geek Squad in the South, we kind of just noticed that whenever they talked about us, they often got our name confused with Doctor Who. And even when they did say Discussing Who, they kind of just introduced us as a Doctor Who podcast, which we are, but not exclusively. So the types of changes we made to like the logo is just to mildly separate us from Doctor Who. Though we love Doctor Who and will always review Doctor Who, we just wanted to just not be boxed in by it. So that was kind of the idea behind just the slight rebranding.
And a little bit, I've got to take a little fault in that, because going back and looking, and I again, Clarence, I think you mentioned this, and then I want to make a comment of what Lee said of the new branding, or a comment that he made. But I think, not even realizing it, just by default, everything was blue. And, even in our shirts, even in our cards, even in our website, everything had the blue coloring to it. So how could I not expect people to associate us with Doctor Who and then wonder, why in the heck are they talking about comic books when it really looks like Doctor Who?
Yeah.
So go to our website. You'll see our new look. But over the weekend, I sent a sample to Clarence and Lee and said, hey, take a look at it. And then he saw something, he being Lee, made an observation that I did not see, or should I say, choose to see. So apparently the coloring reminded you of who?
Captain Marvel, who I know is your favorite character in the in the current continuity. And in the DC universe. So
okay, so having said that, well, yes, I do like Captain Marvel, Shazam in the DC universe.
Exactly,
You're right,
yeah.
since you said DC. But in Marvel, if anything was playing on my subconscious mind, it was not the villainous Captain Marvel of Marvel.
not
Whoa!
Oh, no. Instead, if it was indeed my subconscious, and leading into our news and events segment nonetheless,
yeah.
I think it would have been someone, or I would have chosen someone a bit more wonderful.
Yes.
So, news and events, guys. So here's how I want to say it. Okay, here we go. Okay, this is funny. Okay, a new age is about to dawn. And the woman who all the world has been waiting for, trust me, I've worked on this, a woman who can get us out from under the gloom of perpetual boredom, Wonder Woman, will be in theaters this Friday. And all my hopes are pinned on this movie and the magic of this story. Does anybody get an idea of where I got that from?
All our hopes are pinned in it. I don't know. It sure sounds familiar.
All right. Well, listen to the finished version, and it will make 150%. Get into Doctor Who, guys. Expectations, really quick. Any expectations for the movie? Lee, since you took the Captain Marvel reference, I'll be kind to you and say, go first.
Thank you. Actually, I'm still stuck on Captain Marvel because I honestly haven't been following the story, so I just have to take it from you that she's a horrible person, and so yeah, I really don't know what's going on. So to me, in my heart, growing up as I did, Captain Marvel will always be Billy Batson, Shazam. So that's Captain Marvel, and
right.
And you know, if you know the whole story about how DC lost ownership of the name and all that stuff, it's almost as infuriating as the fact that there's no Fantastic Four in the Marvel universe right now. So, but not quite, because the Fantastic Four and I got started about the same time. That was the first comic I ever read. That's the first comics I ever collected.
And back then it was good. It just really was good.
Well, that's right. Oh man, was it good? Yeah. So, but anyway, yeah. So Patty Jenkins is I think Wonder Woman, and I think that's part of what's happening here is that there hasn't been a woman who's directed a superhero blockbuster film like this before. So Gal Gadot is kind of every eye is on her, and every eye is on Patty Jenkins, even though people don't know what she looks like, they're not going to see her on screen. But this is the big test for her too. And when this film is the giant success that I think it's going to be, I think this is going to change forever the way people think of women directing these big superhero films, and more power to them. Doctor Who has already proven that.
True.
That women direct great action stories for that franchise. So why not?
Why not?
But you were seeing the reviews come in, and everybody except The Guardian of London has been positive. The Guardian, I don't know if you saw that or not.
Yeah, I saw that, but I'm like, you know what, man.
Well, anybody can be entitled to having a bad day at the theater, I think, but
right, exactly.
So what? Everybody else seems to love it, and I can't wait to get in there and love it myself. What about you guys?
Well, Clarence, I'm going to let you mention a video that I showed you. So, and also whatever you want to say about Wonder Woman. But I know you had a very good comment as a response to the video. So you want to kind of tell everybody about that?
Wow, I don't even know what my comment was.
All right, let me tell about the video, and I'll look up your comment.
Well, while you're looking that up, let me go ahead and just give a few thoughts on Wonder Woman. Right now, it's sitting at 97% on Rotten Tomatoes, which is just freaking ridiculous for A, a superhero movie, and B, a DC movie. So, man, it's just, I'm kind of excited about it. My thoughts on Wonder Woman, she was never really my character growing up. I think by the time I was growing up, Hulk was the Incredible Hulk was on TV more than Wonder Woman, although they did play Wonder Woman in the 80s as well. It just never kind of latched on to me. So I think most of what I know about her is actually from you, Kyle. And yeah, I'm excited about this movie. It was good to see her for that brief moment in Batman v Superman. And yeah, I'm just glad that DC is getting it right, and I can't wait to see a strong, powerful woman on screen. And interesting perspective, Lee, on the directorial, the director of this movie. I didn't really think too hard about that, but you're exactly right. I hope it's a good, debut for her as well in the superhero genre. But anyway, this YouTube video that we're talking about is pretty much a smattering of hits from, I guess, the 70s until now, all Wonder Woman themed, and the lyrics are changed up, and we get this video of various Wonder Woman costumes, and it's pretty awesome. So if you're just even a mild fan, you should check it out. It's a lot of fun. I think my favorite version that was in the video is the I'm Every Woman remix. I'm Wonder Woman.
Yeah.
So it's just a fun video by the guys over at Nerdist. So you should definitely check it out. We'll drop the link in the show notes.
Yeah, and your comment was that, my friend, may be the best thing on the internet. And it was. I mean, I sit there and watched it over and over, and I think my favorite one out of there was I am living in a Themyscira world instead of a material world.
Right.
That was good. And ironically, or coincidentally, whichever word you want to use, the lady who played the Beyonce quote-unquote Wonder Woman and the Whitney Houston Wonder Woman also played Hawkgirl in Flash. I'm not Flash. Well, yeah, she did, I think, appear in Flash originally, but she ultimately was in Legends of Tomorrow.
Yes, that is her. Wow.
Yep. So I thought it was an interesting tie-in. And speaking of Flash, an interesting tie-in from last week's finale. At some point, there was something going on, and Cisco, one of the characters on there, reversed the polarity of the neutron flow to get something to work. So that was that was like really, really cool.
As one does.
Yeah, as one does. All right, so guys, before we move on to comics, I want to ask you guys something. This was something actually I noticed this morning, and as we know, in the United States, yesterday was Memorial Day. Now, I noticed yesterday that several of the people on my Facebook timeline, especially comic book fans, had shared a patriotic Captain America standing in front of a flag as a Memorial Day tribute. Now, earlier this morning, I saw on Twitter that there were a lot of people who took offense to this, considering Marvel's current storylines. Now, Clarence, I know I've mentioned this story to you, but Lee, are you familiar with what's going on with Captain America?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, what do you guys think about this? Are people being too sensitive to be offended by using Captain America, or not, or what do you guys think?
Yeah, that seems a little touchy to me, because I think you can't take Cap out of context. I mean, I don't look at him standing in front of the American flag and think about him being an agent of Hydra. He's got, let me do the math. He's got 70-year history of being Captain America. I mean, that's what I think of. People should have posted the great Jack Kirby cover of Hitler punching Captain America punching Hitler in the face. That would have been less ambiguous, I guess.
I think it just goes back to, as a creator, or I know after 70 years you get to the point to where you're wondering, okay, how do I keep this character fresh? But on the flip side, it's almost like you want to say, is there a line that you shouldn't cross over? And basically, associating him, even if they're coming out now saying, just give us to the end of the story and all will be explained. Well, you shouldn't have to give a press release that says, give us to the end of the story.
Right. Yeah.
So I was just curious what you guys said, thought, considering, and one of the reasons I wanted to talk about comics was literally to enforce our new mantra, however you want to say it, that we're not just Doctor Who. So if you hear us, we may be a Doctor Who episode, but we're going to throw comics in just for the heck of it. So that was one of the reasons I wanted to bring up several comic things today. But switching back to Doctor Who, I want to mention that our friends at Crew to Who, that is a group out of New Orleans. They will be having the New Orleans Time Fest, or NOLA Time Fest. It will be this weekend. Look them up on Facebook and tell them that we sent you. So, Lee, you recently recorded a commercial for us because we have now become an affiliate, or reached affiliate status, or been approved to be an affiliate of Audible. So could you tell our listeners who might not be familiar with Audible what that's all about?
Yes. Insert commercial here.
Or somewhere.
Yeah. No, I thought you had that all mixed and you were just going to drop it in there.
Oh, no, my friend. I'm not that good.
Okay.
Wait to episode 75 now. Come on.
75. Okay. Yeah. Well, I wish I had the script in front of me then. But yeah, Audible.
Just tell them what is Audible.
Audible is the world's largest repository and vendor of audio adventure, of books on tape, if you will. There is, I don't think you can think of a genre or a type of book that Audible doesn't have some of, because they've got 180,000 titles. That's a staggering number if you think about it. A lot of it is sci-fi, fantasy, Doctor Who stuff. Specifically, they have lots and lots of Doctor Who titles, and those are read and acted out for you by names you know. I'll just mention Alex Kingston, just to mention one. Drop him in.
Thank you.
But Tom Baker and David Tennant. So many voices we love from Doctor Who, and these are new and original adventures of the Doctor and his companions. And wouldn't you like to have one of those for free? Well, my friend, you can get one for free by signing up for the Discussing Who Audible trial. When you do that, you sign on, and you're going to get Audible content whenever you want to. It's a subscription. But if you decide after you get your first book, which is, and you decide that Audible's not for you, you still get to keep that book. So basically we're saying, hey, go get your free Doctor Who book, or whatever you want from 180,000 titles. You just have to go to this web address. Help me out here. I think it is audibletrial.com/discussingwho.
You got it.
Sure, that's
exactly.
Right. Okay. We don't want to tell you wrong.
Yep.
audibletrial, all one word, .com/discussingwho, all one word.
Very good.
So there you go. Yeah.
Good deal. Good deal. Well, just want to mention two other things real quick to wrap up the news. Just wanted to mention BritBox.com. I know I had someone ask me the other day where they could find Doctor Who. Could they find it on Netflix? And I was like, no. Of course, Amazon.com for current, and then, of course, BritBox.com for the classic. And want to shout out one more time to Titan Comics. They have actually contacted us, very nice gentleman from their PR department, contacted us on Twitter, and hopefully we'll have some more Titan Comics news coming up soon. But unless you guys have anything else, I think that should do it for news and events. So you guys ready to get into the review?
That wasn't a question, really. That was a statement. Okay. I actually did have a couple other things, but just forget it. So.
All right. Well, tell me. Well, actually, you did have something. I had asked, did you know of any other comic shops? Because we've been talking about local. Tell us about the comic shop you posted in Slack earlier.
It is not entirely impossible that some of my friends who live in Western North Carolina, where I am, are aware of, are listening right now, and may be aware of HickoryCon. And I read to you from their website. HickoryCon is one of Carolina's largest one-day comic and gaming conventions, boasting a ton, I guess they've actually weighed these people, a ton of dealers. You are sure to find something exciting. We also host sanctioned and just for fun tournaments for the hottest CCGs. Be sure to join us for, I'm quoting here, the coolest event in Western North Carolina. Now, that's a brag. But that is this weekend. That is Saturday, June the 3rd.
Oh, wow.
From 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. And I'm just looking at their photos from last year. I didn't know about this last year, but they've kind of pitched it as being all about comics and gaming. But there's a lot of Star Wars, Star Trek, and Doctor Who cosplay going on. So it's a general fun thing. But that's here at the Hickory Metro Convention Center, June 3rd. 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. and it's $5 to get in. $5.
Nice.
Yeah.
Are you going? Are you going to be able to go?
I'm going to be there with my relativity cards and my Discussing Who cards.
All right, cool.
My blue Discussing Who cards.
All right, well there you go. Because, hey, go for it.
Whatever.
Do one thing. If you get a chance to meet someone cool or someone you want to interview while they're there, whether comic or Doctor Who or sci-fi. If you feel the urge, take out your phone, record audio, and we'll play it on a future episode.
I will do it.
Cool. Yeah. Well, for anyone listening, and Clarence, do you have anything else? I just
not at all. All right,
let's
get into it.
All right. So anyone listening, I think you know what time it's for. It's for the spoiler warning. So if you have not seen this week's episode, be forewarned, spoilers will come after this message.
Spoilers. Affirmative. Spoilers. Spoilers. Affirmative. Spoilers.
So again, you are warned, spoilers. So here we go. This is the second episode in a 3-part Doctor Who story. And I want to start a little bit with something that the Doctor said at the very beginning that kind of set the tone. And it was a little somber to me, and I'm curious to know what you guys think. So in it, he says, "The end of your life has already begun. There's a last place you will ever go, a last store you will ever walk through, a last sight you will ever see, and every step you take is moving you closer." Clarence, what did you think of that? Did it resound to you? Did it? What?
Yeah, it sounded very dire. That's exactly what I noticed about it. I don't know. I guess by the end of this episode, you see what they were alluding at. But yes, it is definitely foreshadowing the end of his run. And I just think over the next few episodes, it's just going to continue to get heavier and heavier. What did you guys think?
Lee, what did you think?
Yeah, I thought it's one of those lines of dialogue, one of those marvelous speeches that serves a lot of purposes all at once. It resonates with everybody who hears it because it's true for you and you and you and me. It's true for the characters in the story, and we also know in a meta way it's also true for Peter Capaldi's time as the Doctor. So I love that it lights up all those areas of the brain at the same time. Very, very lovely writing.
Interesting that you use the light. And it lights up your brain, which I get your point that you're alluding to. But on the flip of that, it's also dimming in a sense of the mood, because it sets a very somber, because it was actually really sad, hearing that, because it makes you think of your own mortality, because just like you said, everybody listening to it. So at the immediately in the second scene that we see, per se, and it's the first scene of the Doctor here, it's sad, and it's very setting, like I said, almost a depressing type tone for the story at the very beginning. So let me ask you this. Let's just kind of walk through the story. And Clarence, I know you've just come fresh off of watching it for the second time. So kind of set the stage for us. What happened there at the beginning?
So basically, we pretty much pick up directly where we left off from the previous episode. The Doctor got that email or electronic transmission, whatever you call it, and he started to and he's kind of briefed Nardole and Bill on what's exactly going on, and we see that Bill has went on this date again that the Doctor kind of shoot her into, and she's having a cup of tea, and once again she's interrupted, but not by the Pope this time, but by the UN.
So, guys, let me ask a question. Did we think it was at first a little odd that they were using the UN and making him president again, as opposed to last time using UNIT and making him president again? What do you guys think?
I think maybe in the context of this episode, since they were bringing in all the world powers, it made a little more sense maybe to use the UN versus UNIT. I don't know, is the UNIT a worldwide thing or just a UK thing? I don't know if I remember that exactly.
Well, it has morphed in the new series. Is that originally in the classic series it was the United Nations Intelligence Task Force. That's what it stood for. And now they've dropped the period between the U and the N, and now it's the Unified Intelligence Task Force. And I'm not sure I liked it better the other way.
Yeah.
And I think now they had to sort of stand astraddle the fact that they've taken the United Nations out of UNIT. And it is cool to have the Secretary General there representing, all of the UN nations. That's a great way to tell the story, is to have one person who can walk and talk and be everybody. So I like that. Yeah.
So how long have we? When was this President of the World thing introduced? I remember it in some of the previous seasons of New Who, but is it like a long-standing thing, or is it just a New Who invention?
That would be Death in Heaven, first time I've heard of it. Lee?
Yeah. I was trying to remember. It's definitely a New Who thing, but I couldn't. Yeah.
Yeah. Death in Heaven with
okay.
That was, when Kate Stewart and, what's her name with the glasses? The dresses Ingrid Oliver's character.
Yeah.
Can't remember. Osgood, yes.
Osgood, yes.
Osgood, yes.
we had the Oswinds, Oswalds, and yes.
Yes, Oswin, Oswald, and Osgoods. So, yes. That was the first time I've heard of it. And I think that was the first appearance, quote unquote, of President of Earth or President of the World. So here was my first thought, was you have John Sim coming back. You've got Michelle Gomez this season, returning. And having said that, you only had so much budget. That was my first thought, was, do you want to, can you pay to have, Ingrid Oliver come back, as well as, is it Redgrave that plays Kate, I think? I can't remember her first name. But anyway, that was my first thought. And then as we started watching the episode, that completely went out the window, thinking it had nothing to do with whether or not they could afford them. Those two characters were not dispensable.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Because every single UN person, pretty much, that you, well, actually, all four dignitaries throughout the course of the story, were gone. Yeah. So let's talk briefly. Well, actually, you know what? It's 34 minutes into the show, and let's take a quick commercial break, and we will be right back.
Discussing Who is brought to you by Audible. You've probably heard of Audible, but just in case, they are the world's leading provider of audiobooks. They have more than 180,000 titles. Let me say that again. 180,000 titles to choose from. Imagine a genre, they've got an audiobook. And these files play on smartphones, Kindles, tablets, in fact, over 500 different devices. Now, for fans of Discussing Who, Audible is offering a free download when you start a new Audible subscription. And you can choose anything at all from that vast library. But we know you want to get one of their absolutely fantastic Doctor Who titles, which include New Adventures of the Doctor, but also Torchwood and River Song. And they're performed for you by actors you know and love. Wonderful voices: Tom Baker, Alex Kingston, David Tennant. The list goes on and on. So try it out for 30 days. And if at the end of the month you decide Audible is not for you, you still get to keep that Doctor Who book you downloaded. So look at it this way. Free Doctor Who book. So here's how you get started. Point your favorite web browser to audibletrial.com/discussingwho. That's audibletrial, all one word, audibletrial.com/discussingwho, also one word. And that's how you get your free book. What could be better than that?
Tell me what you see.
It's a 5,000-year-old pyramid.
One little problem. It wasn't there yesterday.
Those creatures in that pyramid, they have studied you, and they have chosen this exact moment and this exact place.
What's wrong with the Doctor?
I lied. I've been blind since Chasm Forge. Coordinate your attacks. They did not come here in peace.
We will take this planet and its people. Life on Earth will cease by humanity's own hand.
All right, we are back, and we were talking about, the pyramid at the end of the world. So, Clarence, I'm going to throw this one at you. The monks, any feelings about them? Any change? Do you like them more? Do you like them less? What was your feelings?
I'm kind of echo what I said in the our last review. I do like their technological superiority here. I think that's really cool. Even though their look is kind of menacing, that's really not their stick. They're kind of just like these really smart people, and they do these weird things, and they're doing these calculations from the beginning of time and things like that. So, I mean, I think the fact that they look weird is not really, doesn't really matter. But at the same time, it is kind of creepy when they ask you these questions and suck the soul out of you if you answer wrong. So, I like them. I think they're an interesting enemy so far. I think by the time we get to the next episode, we'll really see what they're capable of. But I still feel like throughout this episode, we're still getting an introduction to them.
Lee, what do you think?
I was really happy to hear the explanation of why they look the way they do, because I was not digging the design.
All right, refresh my memory, because I don't remember that.
The commander for American forces there, he says, I think he's the one who says it. They say, we've chosen these forms so we could look exactly like you. So this is a body that they've chosen. He says, you look like corpses. And the monk says, you are corpses.
Yeah, okay, got you. I remember that now.
And, this has always been true of Doctor Who from the very beginning. I'll buy anything as long as there's a line of dialogue that at least refers to it, that explains it.
Yeah.
In the old days, this is in Mask of Mandragora, that Sarah Jane asks for the first time ever in the series, why does everybody seem to be speaking English everywhere we go? And the doctor says, well, that's because you're with me. Yeah. And then we drop it. And And I thought, okay, I'll buy that. I just wanted somebody to acknowledge it. That's that's great. So the same thing here. I like that. You that's what you look like to us. So we're trying to blend in.
Totally forgot that, but
it's great.
So that leads the question then to be asked, or poses the question, if that's not what these creatures are, what in fact are they?
Yeah. Yeah, what do they really look like?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, I want to know what you guys think of, speaking of the monks and staying on talking about them. I found it interesting that they're basically trying to take over the world, but what they're looking for is not for fear, not for duty, not for anything like that, but the whole thing of we're the only ones that can save you, nobody else can, and people are going to come to us and get saved. We're the ones that are going to save you because you're going to ask us to.
Yeah, the whole let me in type of thing.
Yes.
I mean, I found that very funny because, again, by the end of the last episode, we see that they're running these simulations to try to find a way to take over the Earth. And the way they do it in this episode, I wasn't really expecting it, because in this episode, they are just simply waiting for us to destroy ourselves and then giving us a chance to continue. Felt very different from the kind of vibe I got from the last episode, whereas it looked like they were trying to find an entry point to feel like more of a forcible takeover versus a we're going to wait till your chips are down and then you're going to need us type of takeover.
Lee, what did you think?
Yeah, I'm hung up on all this stuff too. I watched the episode twice, back to back, and just loved it. I just sidebar, Murray Gold. My God, you really are gold. I just love the score for this episode so much, and it's scored almost all the way through. The music never stops, and I just thought that was thrilling. But then after getting my head out of the show for a little while and starting to think about it, I'm not sure all the logic hangs together, and they may tie it up brilliantly in part 3, but I still don't quite understand what the monks want and why we have to love them, and why they are getting 4 people who speak for the military of the Earth. even if the 4 of them said, "Hey, we love you," and they bought it, that still doesn't buy them the planet. That's just not how that works.
No, but and it escapes reality to think of someone, quote unquote, who has no power technically in the world view. I guess right. if the Doctor is indeed in the Doctor Who universe the president at that point of the world, then then I guess if she's representing him, I guess then she does have the power. But the whole thing of giving the emotion of that being the key, which is just kind of odd.
It's dramatically brilliant. I mean, the heartbreak when we realize, oh wait, Bill actually does have love, not for them, but for the Doctor, and that may actually work. And apparently it did. I mean, that's just that made the hair on the back of my neck stand up. It's that's a horrifying idea, because this is violation. This is real rape. What's going on here? It's a relationship abuse. We want you to love us. We're going to destroy you, but first you're going to love us. That's just. It just makes you want to vomit.
But you look back through history, and any type of force or any ruler. Look at just go back through history and look at any of these, any of them, and part of those personalities need that. They ultimately on some level want you to feel duty to be loyal to them. They want you to have fear of them, but they do want that adoration. They do want that embracing the love and all of that. So maybe that's Moffat's way of kind of painting them a little bit as that, perhaps.
Oh, that's how I read it. I just thought this is so creepy because it's so true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And go ahead.
I was saying, ultimately, she didn't give herself over to save the Earth, but she gave herself over to give the Doctor sight which again I found extremely weird. Of course, in that moment, she wanted to save the doctor, but not weird that she would make that decision, but weird that the monks would accept that as a term of getting her, because I thought their whole aim was to take over the world. So,
but is there something else going on with the monks that manipulated them to getting to the point of where they got with the doctor? So, I think it was Lee, I think you were the one that said when we get to next week, all may be revealed. But, I'm looking at it from the perspective of asking what else is going on, because I find it also interesting that these beings have these strings or strands, and by moving these strands, they can ultimately change reality. And that's, you're basically controlling time, space, reality. So Moffat has created, we don't even really have a name for him yet, but he's really created some very powerful beings, whatever they are.
Yeah. That's right out of classical mythology too. The fates are literally weaving all of time.
True.
They've got strands that they're weaving, and in the Wagner operas we get to see them doing it. That's a great moment in that thing. So yeah, these are the fates.
And ironically, there is a character in Marvel Comics, and actually he's Psylocke's, Betsy Braddock's older brother, and his mutant power was, and he's cuckoo, totally off his rocker. He makes Legion look sane, to kind of put him into context. Yeah. But his power was being able to change reality by doing the same exact thing that the monks were doing. So
that image. Yeah.
Yep.
Well,
go ahead.
I was just going to mention of comics. Doesn't this kind of seem eerily similar to the whole Cap thing that we were just talking about? How, alluding to the preview of the next On.
Yes, very good.
What we see is it very much seems like that Cap story we were talking about. We hated so much.
Interesting. I had not drawn that conclusion, but I think you're right.
Back to the Future. Take your pick. Somebody goes back and changes something, and
and I had kind of having to sit here and process that for a second, because I had not thought about that. But you're right. You're 100% correct. So
they've referenced Back to the Future several times this season. I don't know if that's deliberate or if it's just sort of in the cultural mind space now after 30 years or whatever. But, the last line of the pilot was, well, I figured, what the hell?
True.
Hey.
So
that's Doc Brown's explanation.
Yeah. So question for you guys. Is it possible to move the TARDIS without the Doctor having any inkling whatsoever what is going on? Tear apart his building, put him in a plane, and carry him off, and he's just strumming away on the guitar. Nobody knows.
Yep, we have seen it before. We've seen somebody put it on the back of a truck and drive off with it. So yeah,
yeah.
You tend to forget that that's possible, but yeah. But
yeah, because I don't think it has a. Well, it obviously doesn't, but it doesn't have a emergency brake, for lack of a better term.
And somewhere along the way, somewhere in since 1963, it's been established that the TARDIS, not only its external dimension, not only conceals the size of its interior, but also the weight of its interior.
True.
Oh, okay.
So it weighs the same as a phone box. So yeah. Because I'm trying to remember when this was, but one of the doctors said that if that wasn't true, it would sink of its own weight to the center of the planet. So.
Well, go back to the day of the Doctor when the Doctor and Clara were taken from some outside road by a helicopter to the Tower of London or wherever they were in the museum.
That's right. Yeah.
So, if a helicopter could lift it, you go.
Right. Yeah. That's right.
Yeah, that's right. what do you guys think about the scientist? So
I really want to talk about Erica. I really want to get to this. So.
All right, go for it.
Yeah.
I'm with you guys. Go for it.
Well, what on the second time watching it through, I realized this is either a thing that isn't fully developed, or I'm just being really stupid. But it seems like the whole catastrophe happens because her hungover lab mate,
yes,
is doing the job that she was supposed to do that day, and she's not doing it because the oaf that she shares the flat with broke her glasses.
Oh, I did not get that part. I didn't get. Wow.
Well,
Go ahead.
What I didn't catch until seeing it the second time was that scene cuts in right after a speech about how the unraveling of the world is that has already been set into motion. The events that are going to lead up to that have already been set into motion. And then we cut to this mundane scene of her going to work and her glasses breaking.
Yes, because I mean, I was really wondering why they kept making the flashbacks to the glasses breaking and the bottle breaking.
Yes.
But man, you just explained it so well. That is why they kept showing that. It just felt kind of weird in the context of the episode if you wouldn't really get the nuances of it.
I did not get it the first time. I really, and I could still be wrong. But
I think you're right, because I didn't get it. I mean, I got the glasses, but I didn't get the glass breaking. I got more of him being hung over, but I get that he was drinking and that was part of his right. Am I right?
I think the key point you made, Lee, is the glasses breaking and them switching jobs, and then him also being hungover kind of sets the domino effect of events that kind of led to what we got.
Yeah, it wouldn't have happened if she, who is awake and alert and sober at her job, could have seen what she was doing. But if so, what's the point of all this? Is it going to happen that somehow, I mean, we were talking about this being a time travel story, part 3. Are we going to go back and undo it so that she's the one who is mixing the enzymes that could lead to forming this killer bacteria, but doesn't? Because something else is going to happen with that story about her, about the job being done by somebody who wasn't her, when she was the one who was supposed to be in a good universe, and the one who was in charge of that. Because this is something we know from watching the series over the years, and particularly in New Who, when the Doctor gets flirty with a woman and is making jokes about taking her on as a companion, she's dead.
That's what I was fixing to say. She's gonna die.
Yeah,
really.
Well, we've seen it several times. And maybe this is Moffat deliberately waiting to pull the rug out from under us. But, yeah,
go back. Who was it?
Says, no,
Under the Flood.
One for me and one for my...
Under the ocean, before the flood or whatever, there was the character that was like, oh, well, she's cool. Oh, she's dead.
Yep. And the woman in the hotel in the episode that I can't remember otherwise, 11th Doctor, where they're all trapped in the hotel full of, you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, exactly.
What's it called? Yeah. Same thing. And he gets very flirty with her, and she dies. So,
I mean, when it comes down to the whole scientists and them in their lab and conducting these experiments, of course, the male guy, I forget his name, takes off his mask because he says he has to throw up. But what I find really funny about the whole lab scene and the mutation of this gene or whatever that is going to kill everybody, why would the lab jettison the vapors into the atmosphere when things are about to go wrong? I thought usually they just blaze or torch everything automatically and pull the doors down and put everything on lockdown. Yeah. Why would they vent it into the atmosphere when it's a deadly virus? I just don't know.
One too many thread has been pulled. I mean, because that made no sense to me either. I mean, it was like, why didn't you just torch it? Right.
Yeah. It's very exciting from a plot point of view, but you're saying, but why would that be? Why would you? That doesn't make any sense. So, my alma mater, my employer, University of Alabama at Birmingham, is a major biomedical research center. And I drive past that research, the core building every now and then. And every time I drive past it, I sort of think, somewhere inside that building is a big red button. And if somebody goes there and hits that button, that whole city block just goes up. Boom. I guarantee you.
He said it here, 8:30 p.m. Central Standard Time.
That's right. When that crater happens in downtown Birmingham, you say, "Hey, Lee called it."
It wasn't us.
But yeah, for all I know, what they do is when they develop something supernaturally deadly like that, they just vent it into the air once an hour, every hour, just like this place.
Oh man!
The only thing I can say there is one too many threads got pulled.
Yeah.
Because it makes no sense.
Interesting. No, it doesn't. But I don't know. It still may all come together in the third season. See, in the third episode. See, I'm still back on the one from last week. If you're going to run a simulation of the world as it exists, why would it have the Doctor in it?
Yeah.
He's not part of human history. And if the Doctor and Nardole are both there, why would Nardole be carrying River Song's diary? How does that get into the simulation of the history of the Earth? I don't get it.
And that goes back to my question that may answer your question, which is, what are these beings?
Yeah.
Because I can't help but wonder if there's some wibbly-wobbly things going on here, meaning what are we going to possibly find out that these monks may be? Am I thinking too hard? Am I trying to read too much into it? Maybe. But, going back to what you just said, if they have knowledge of the Doctor and they have such intricate knowledge of reality to even know about the diary of River Song, what are they?
Yeah. That would, if this is somehow all pointedly about the Doctor, then everything does kind of tie together. Why they would accept Bill's sacrifice?
Yeah,
because they know that's going to bring the Doctor to them.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So,
and what does Missy have to do with all this?
Exactly. That was my what if. What does Missy? Because we
know she has something to do with it.
Yes, because is that how does Missy make some pact with these things? Does part of what happens here? Go ahead, Clarence.
No, I was just going to say, I guess we'll talk about the next on at the very end of this episode.
Okay.
But I think the next on explains all.
Okay. All right. Well, having said that, so we can work our way to that, let me ask you guys a question. What do you think happened to Nardole? Or we see him passed out. What was your guys' take?
Well, he said that he got some of his parts cheap or something like that. So I guess he has human lungs now or something to that effect. That's why it affected him as it did. And it also would explain why in the oxygen episode, why he couldn't take off his mask rather than the Doctor. So
yeah,
Nardole might not be around too much longer from the looks of it.
But he's back next episode. We know that.
Oh, is he?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I didn't notice.
Here you were talking about the next time, and then said, "Oh, I didn't know."
That's right. But yeah, he is in the next on trailer. That reminds me. This is kind of a sidebar, but I did go back and look at my stash of Fifth Doctor adventures, just to find out. I had this memory of him being out in space without a spacesuit on, and I found it. It's in the last part of 4 to Doomsday. And he does have a helmet on. He doesn't have any kind of a pressure suit on. I mean, it's his cricketer's outfit with the top coat, but he does have a helmet on. So I just wanted to throw that out there.
The photosynthesis from the cell root provided enough oxygen. There you go.
Yeah. I always love the way how that business played out.
Hey, you said as long as you had an explanation, you could go with it. I just gave an explanation.
Yep. Well, they.
Well, so guys, do we think this whole blind game has been played a bit too long? What has been 3 episodes of him being blind and having to deal with this kind of Nardole telling him what's going on from behind the scenes, and I guess it all came to a head in this episode.
Well, one of our regular listeners, I think it was either Angie or Heather, put this on Facebook the other day. They're saying now he knows how to use all this technology. Why didn't he pull out his glasses, or his phone or whatever, and ask Erica to FaceTime him?
Oh, good one.
You know, they came up with that. You know, couldn't she look at the view from his glasses with her phone and tell him what numbers he's turning?
Yeah.
Or better yet, if we've seen the TARDIS, the sonic screwdriver figure out combinations before. So just because he had to manually move them doesn't, he could have short circuited it and walked out if he needed to.
My God,
lovely. Yeah.
He can lift the emergency bar at the pyramid site while just flashing his his sonic screwdriver. I'm sure he could do some mojo to make the numbers be right.
So,
but I did like the explanation of that, though. I mean, here we are again. He said my glasses can tell me what the combination is, but they don't tell me how to get the dial to turn to that number. And I thought, no, that makes sense. That's what it would do. So I get it, but it's a magic wand. I mean, if it was a different story, he would have just opened the door with his sonic screwdriver and walked through. So it's the great thing about writing science fiction and fantasy. If the rules don't suit your dramatic purpose, you just change them.
Yeah.
Right. If this was Star Trek, they would have just beamed him out.
Exactly. Or there would have been a reason why they couldn't beam him out, because the walls are full of selenium or something in them.
Or Nardole would have had human lungs. So there you go.
Right. Yeah. But yeah, I think Nardole is in grave danger, and this is either going to be the last Nardole episode, except we saw him in the trailer, or we're going to have to give him some new lungs. And yeah, you get what you pay. You get what you pay what
for.
You pay for, right? Exactly. And that'll be the moral of the story.
So I want to comment on something you said, Clarence, which was do we feel like the blindness is spread out or has been spread out a little bit too much over too many episodes? Let me pose this question. Do we think that this episode next week, episode preceding that, do we think this middle episode could have been condensed down to 5 minutes on one episode, 5 minutes on the other, and this was just a little bit of a filler, so to speak?
Yeah, which is definitely gonna be my kind of review of the whole episode, if we want to get into that.
Sure, go for it.
Other than those moments at the very end where we had the kind of heartfelt moment of Bill having to make the decision and the doctor being in dire straits, I mostly hated this episode. I hate to say it. I did not like it at all. I felt, after having such a good episode before and seeing the preview for the next episode, it definitely felt like filler, and kind of is a big departure from the last several episodes we've had that have been really, really good. Yeah, I thought the whole President of the World thing felt extremely cheesy, and for this to have tried to come off as such an epic moment of the pyramid in the desert in Iraq, wherever they were, somewhere made up place, cross section, for them to
made up a stand.
Yeah, made up a stand.
Made up a stand. I like that.
But for them to drum up how this was to be such a big event, it really felt like a low budget / not as epic as it should have been. And for that reason, I really did not like the episode at all. I don't feel like the payoff at the end was garnered or was deserved. But that being said, I did enjoy them last 5 minutes. I thought it was really good, but just everything else, especially coming off the last episode where we had this huge build up, it just felt out of place. What about you guys?
Wow. For the first time, I think Clarence and Lee are not going to agree. This is monumental for 50th episode, special treat. So, Lee, I've got to let you follow on that one. Because I know you said earlier that you liked it, so elaborate.
It's true. I always say, hey, I'll just go with Clarence, but no, Clarence, no, you're entitled to your opinion. You're just wrong. That's all.
Oh, good one.
No, seriously. I think there are probably a lot of things in it that, like I'm saying, I've got a lot of complaints. There are things that I don't think make sense, but I enjoyed them in the moment. And in a way, that's what our episodic drama is supposed to do. It's supposed to give us, 45 minutes of escape. And then maybe afterwards we go, hey, wait a minute, that doesn't entirely make sense. Doesn't matter. Show's over now. But it just grabbed me from the first frame and pulled me along breathlessly. I couldn't look away from the screen at any moment. I just felt catapulted through it, and I always felt that all the threats were real. And I loved. We've seen this a lot too, enough to know what's going to happen. I love the doctor crowing about the fact that he saved the day, because we know what's going to happen as he runs into a dead end. That's what happens. I'm the doctor saving the world with my eyes shut, and that's I love stuff like that. And Bill's sacrifice, I thought was very touching, and then the horror of the doctor realizing, now what's happened, and we are in extremis. So this is it. Yeah. And that's the end of the episode. So, come back next week. It's a great cliffhanger. And just, I don't know, I really, really enjoyed it. And like I say, I enjoyed the music so very much. And I don't think there was a thing new written for it. I think that's just all part of Murray Gold's library now. Some of it was part of the 11th Doctor theme, in fact. The dun 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 dun. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I love it.
Okay, so here, let me go here. So here's my.
You need to be somewhere in between.
And I think I am. I think I really am, because on first watching, I'm kind of leaning toward what you were saying, Lee. I enjoyed the episode. I was not bored in the episode. The last 5 minutes. Oh yes, you saw the story pick up. But Clarence, you made a comment earlier this afternoon saying that you were going to try to watch for the second time. I also did that. And in my second watching, it took about 15 minutes to watch, because I watched the first maybe 7 or 8 minutes at the beginning, and I hit fast forward, and to the very end of where he's trying to figure out the combination. So that was my 15 or 20 minutes of the show, hence my question of taking a little bit here and a little bit there and putting it over the two episodes. So for me, on first watching, I enjoyed it, but is it an episode that I'd go back and watch again? Yes. Is it Knock Knock? No, it's a whole lot better than Knock Knock. But it just, using that filler word again, it just felt like it was. I hate, or maybe my problem with it more so is I would have rather have had 2 longer episodes of last week and this week, and another episode with Nardole, Bill, and the doctor doing something else than this episode, because we know Capaldi's leaving. So I would have rather have had another adventure instead of a filler. So that's my take.
Yeah, and a thing that, again, that made me feel that this episode wasn't as epic as they wanted it to be. Just like, for instance, when they're at the pyramid and the various armies are camped out around it, it just felt like there was like 10 people standing around to me. And I think about what we saw, and I know this is a movie versus a TV show, but I think about what we saw at Arrival when that spaceship was hovering out there. It felt grand and epic. And again, this is a TV show. I do understand that, but it felt like very low cut and not as epic as it should have felt. Like even at the moments when the doctor were giving his "I'm the doctor's" dialogue, it just didn't have the gravitas I expected from it. So that might just be me. I definitely see Lee's point that how he loved it, and again, I think it's just me that I just did not like it for some reason, and for that reason, I'm going to give it a 2.5.
Oh wow! Okay.
What about you guys,
Lee?
I'm loving that Clarence used the example of Arrival because I was just looking at the bonus features on the Blu-ray disc for Arrival, and they're showing a lot of the how they composed a lot of those effects. And when they filmed those impressive things of the armies massing around the spaceships, there were about 10 people there too. That's all CG. Every one of those vehicles, the buildings, everything. It's fantastic. But yeah. So that we saw what that looks like when you don't go then and add all the armies of the world.
All right, so I need to invest in some sound effects and do the ding, like ring the bell of the, you in your corner, you in the other corner. Ding, ding.
No.
That's hilarious.
Oh, no, but we're not fighting here because I think we both see that there's good things in this and some things that got serious questions about. I'm afraid that the third part of the Monks trilogy, we're not going to get the things tied up and explained that I am hoping to get explained. I feel it in my bones. We're not
come on,
get
Lee.
explained.
Lee, come on now. Say something nice. Please, say something nice.
Here's a theory for you. Missy is going to save the day by giving up her regenerative powers, and in the process of which we're going to see her walking backwards through her lives, and so she will briefly turn into John Sim. How about that? And she'll save the Doctor and the world by with her sacrifice.
No, I have a little bit more faith than Missy. You want to know what my theory is?
That this whole thing was her plan in the first place.
Bingo.
Yeah.
Oh man, that would be disappointing.
But a lot more likely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Or what about this? The meddling of the strands somehow releases the John Sim version from the Time War, and that's how he returns. Because we assume that he regenerated to her after the Time War, or somewhere in the Time War. So maybe he gets released, because I do know at some point they're supposed to be on screen together at the same time, not in a regeneration scene, but together. So maybe something happens that brings him back. Because we've only got 5 more episodes after this one. Yeah.
Oh, that's something I was going to say about. You were saying that you wish. I don't want to misquote you, but I thought the gist was you were saying we wish that we weren't going to tie up 3 whole episodes.
Correct. Yep,
this
that's
story.
The gist.
And I remember that at the time when I was trying to avoid spoilers about the season, that I read somewhere that this season is going to have 2 3-parters. So if I was reading that right, and if that's actually true, then yeah, once we get out of this one, we've still got another one waiting.
So I would assume 10, 11, and 12 would be your 3-parter.
That seems smart.
Because if you think about it, last year was the 10, 11, and 12, Face the Raven, Hell Bent, and Heaven Sent were right. all Heaven Sent and then Hell Bent. That was technically kind of a 3-parter.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
So.
Yeah, but I think those episodes can more stand alone. Of course, we haven't seen the third one of this arc, but if you take this episode we got right now out of context, I don't think anybody would enjoy it, not knowing what was before and what's after.
It would
No.
be hard to understand. Yeah.
But if you take, if you go back to the classic Doctor Who stories and you take part 3 of Genesis of the Daleks and don't have the other, that probably wouldn't make sense either.
Right.
So
Good point.
So, and I didn't give it a number, so I've got to give it. I'm going to give it a 3, and I'm going to channel Louis Trapani because I think I've heard Louis say this before on Podshock, which is it's hard to give a rating because this is connected to 2 opposing sides, so it's hard to give a rating for this particular one. But if I had to, I'm going to give it a 3. That's the best I can give it. So there we go.
Yeah.
All right. So anything else that you guys can think about?
We're not thinking about anything.
All right. Well, the only thing I can think about is if anybody is listening to us through iTunes, if you're using iTunes, you can do this. It's easier, I think, to do it on your computer than on your mobile device. However, if you can, leave us some feedback, rate us on iTunes. Does that help us? Yes, it helps us get discovered, actually. It helps the more ratings we have, the more likely that we will be featured in the top 50, top 100 of whatever category, whether it be Doctor Who, comic books, or whatever. And so if you use Stitcher, if you use iTunes, please spend 2 minutes, 1 minute of your time and leaving us a little bit of feedback. We would definitely appreciate it. And speaking of feedback, Clarence, would you like to tell everybody how to get in touch with us?
Yeah, we're at Discussing Who on all of the social medias, Facebook, Twitter, even Instagram. So, yeah, check us out there. Send us an email. I'm sorry? Send us an email.
I was doing a high-pitched what? I didn't know we had an Instagram account. Wow, okay.
That's an email at discussingwho@gmail.com or send us a voicemail at 805-850-DWHO. Yeah, back to you, Kyle.
All right, good deal. Well, Lee, do you have anything else?
Always encouraging people to go to relativitypodcast.com or search out Relativity Podcast on iTunes and Google Play and all of those other venues that are out there. On Facebook, as of today, we are at 99 likes. 99. Yeah. Anyway, so thanks to everybody. Thanks to everybody for your support of this show, which is coming back soon, I promise.
And Clarence, what else are you working on? Anything cool or exciting?
Nothing this week, man. Just glad to be back on the podcast, and stay tuned. Maybe we'll have something about Wonder Woman coming up pretty soon.
Yep, Wonder Woman will be coming up pretty soon. And this is episode 8 this week, so this will also be the finale of Class in the U.S. So we will also have coming up soon our Class review. So
you mean that review we recorded like 6 months ago?
Yes. We jumped in our TARDISes and our TARDI, as it was called, and went to the UK and watched Class over there, and then came back across the pond and recorded our episode. So yes, that's the one you're talking about.
That's the one.
Yeah. All right. Well, guys, this has been fun. So for everyone listening, thank you again for spending your time with us. And like Clarence and Lee said, we'll be back soon with our Class review, our Wonder Woman movie review, as well as our review of the next episode of Doctor Who. So thank you again for listening, and we are out of here.
You've been listening to the Discussing Who podcast. Discussing Who is made by fans for fans. No copyright infringement is intended. Show us you're fans of the show by liking us on Facebook, following us on Twitter. You can find us on the web at www.discussingwho.com. Want more Discussing Who? Find us on iTunes, Google Play Music, Player FM, the Doctor Who Podshock Alliance, and more. Send us your feedback to discussingwho@gmail.com, or if you'd like, simply record a voice message and send that to us via your smartphone, tablet, or computer. We want to hear from you.